Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in to On the Ball podcast. We appreciate you for coming through. You already know, got a lot to get into, and we're gonna have some fun with it. And obviously, want to hear from you down in the chat as well. We're gonna talk some NBA, gonna talk some NFL. As you see from the title, we have no more winless teams, so we'll have to touch on that. It's something we talked about the past couple of weeks, but they finally got it done. So talk about the Jets there, but and then NBA first week observations. It's been interesting around the league to say the least. You already see the Celtics are winless, but hey, it's okay. I am actually okay with that.
Embrace the
Yeah,
tank.
hey, I mean it is what it is at this point. But right next to me, you guys already know, not guarding the two, he's guarding the three. Brett, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm here to talk some football, basketball. I'm going to talk some wrestling later. I'm really excited for today. It's going to be a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this right about now. So, starting off, a lot was made during the bye week for the Ravens that, Lamar was going to come back. Everything's going to be fine. Well, Lamar didn't come back. And we'll talk about that in a second because that's a whole other situation going on. But looking at the is going on, JRT Joe and Metallicana. What's going on? Appreciate you guys tuning in. But looking at out of the bye week where there were some discrepancies with the injury report, which led to probably some disciplinary action from the league. But we learned that Tyler Huntley, or Snoop Huntley, if you know him personally, uh, got the start. They went up against a Bears team that, going into it, I think a lot of people thought the Bears had a shot in this one. No. Ravens, best game of the year for them, get the win over the Bears. Now, I don't know. I guess people are they're probably still on the hype train behind the Ravens potentially still winning the division. We'll talk a little bit later about another team in that division, but I guess what were your thoughts on this game? You know, did you see anything from the Ravens side that I don't know could be optimistic going forward, or were you just disappointed in how the Bears turned out in this one?
Why not both, right?
Let's go Lions. Okay.
It's one of those things where, of course, kind of disappointed that the Bears couldn't get it done. Caleb Williams threw a pretty rough pick to, I think it was Nate
That pick was
Wiggins.
horrible. Yeah.
That being said, you got to be upbeat now if you're the Falcons. I mean, not the Falcons. If you're the Ravens, right? This
Hey,
is a
Joey.
situation now where we are talking that they could very well be getting back into this race. Steelers are looking mortal. We have the potential return of Lamar Jackson looming. Like they're one hot streak away from being right back into this divisional race. So you feel if you're a Ravens fan, you have to feel good about the win because this could very well be the game to get you back on track. The fact that Snoop Huntley, wasn't on the team at the beginning of the year is just surprising to me. And yeah, like I said, if you're a Ravens fan, you got to be happy about that.
Okay. Now, Joey said more disappointed in the Bears, and I think I agree with that. It seemed like the Bears had some momentum going into this one. And if you look at it, like Caleb Williams numbers wise, 285 yards, like not terrible. That's actually a pretty good day. The completion percentage wasn't terrible. Only thing was he had the one interception, no TD passes, so that's obviously where the offense kind of let up. The pick, like you said, that was definitely the turning point. They were backed up in their own end, and Caleb kind of threw a pass over the middle, which was behind the receiver, which Wiggins was like right into his breadbasket, and he picked it off. I think, well, almost returned it for a pick six, which then led to a Derrick Henry touchdown run. So once that happened, it seemed like the momentum was clearly on the Ravens side, and the Bears were never able to really wrestle it away. Uh, their defense away from said hot streak. True. Um, I mean, yeah, if you are a Ravens fan, maybe you feel a little bit better for a week. They still have a lot of work to do. They're 2-5. So, let's see them get to 500 first, and then we can kind of re-examine where they are. But speaking of the midweek stuff, so it's a weird timeline because at one point it was, Lamar looks ready to come back from the bye to start. Then it was like a little later, it was like uh, Tyler Huntley will start if Lamar can't. And then it was Lamar's out. Then we learned Lamar was listed as a full participant for a couple of days, but he ran the scout team, which if you're running the scout team, you're not really a full participant. Now, Harbaugh came out and said, just a little mistake on our part, whatever. I mean, is that something that you feel like is I don't want to say it's like a big deal because obviously not that big of a deal, but is that a little issue where the Ravens trying to be slick? Like, how did you view the whole discrepancy with the injury report with Lamar?
They tried to get cute and got caught. I don't think it was just, oops, it was an accident. Nothing about that was an accident. They tried to be slick, and they got caught. It's really that simple. Like, you don't just make a mistake like that with the injury report.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not buying what he's selling there. I just think he flat out tried to, gain an edge by making him think Lamar was going to play and got caught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Like, they'll get something. I'm trying to think of like the last time something like this happened, but the league will do something. And I guess they should. We talked about the gambling aspect and everything last week. Obviously, the injury report plays into that and everything. So, Harbaugh's been coaching too long for it to be a mistake. I definitely agree. Harbaugh's been around the block. He knows the process.
Yeah, I completely agree. No, they're just they tried to get slick. You got caught. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I give him an A+ effort though. 10 out of 10. Great job, Jim.
Right. Okay. Let's take a look at. Well, I don't think there's anything else in this game that I really need to talk about. Let's go to the next one. Talk about it every week. Is this the week the Jets get a win? And for the first time all year, we can say it was. It actually, in a game that you look at was, probably weren't too invested in, it turned out to be a pretty interesting game.
All the Bengals had to do was hold the Jets to less than 22 points in the fourth quarter, but it was truly incredible. Mm-hmm. 10 out of 10. Yeah. I don't know how Bengals fans are still fans after that.
I mean, it seemed like the offense did everything that they could to get the win. Because even that last touchdown, it was like Justin Fields rolling out to his right. He had the tight end in the back corner. And then for some reason, like the Bengals defender turned his back on Justin Fields. It was like staring at the receiver. So then the receiver goes up and catches it. The defender didn't know where the ball was. And I was like, he's up against the back line. He's not really going to run away from you, like down the field. Like you got to know where the ball is, but it's the Bengals defense. So you can kind of accept it. But yeah, Jets get their first win. Justin Fields had a good game, even though all week, once again, Aaron Glenn tried to be coy with who the starting quarterback was going to be, even though we all knew that he was going to probably stick with Justin Fields because he tried that early in the week, and then we learned that Tyrod Taylor was hurt anyway. We're like, well, no point being coy anymore because you obviously have to use Justin Fields. But more importantly, Breece Hall had a day running the ball. So I guess question, Well, let me two questions because one will be a Bengals question, but I guess for the Jets, could they build off of anything from this game, or is it just that you played the Bengals defense? Not really much you can take away from it.
Uh, I mean, you can take away the fact that it feels like they just had a lot more fight in that game than any other game. They fought the scratch and clawed back. There's good to be taken away if you're the New York Jets. Absolutely. Obviously, there's not really much that they're going to be doing this year. Their playoff chances are just gone. But when you have a game like this and you can keep building up confidence for your young players, I think that's great for the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think there's, you can build off of this, especially for your young guys. Everybody in the Bengals organization just has to go because there's no way. Like, I'm sorry, but actually, I'm not really sorry, but they got to go. It's over. If it wasn't over then, it's over now. Like, that was the most inexcusable performance that you will see all year. It is so bizarre.
Mm-hmm. Look, I kind of think the one thing working for them, the division is still kind of there. So look, if I'm Zach Taylor, coming off of this loss, I gotta get to Joe Burrow mid-December in the race. Like if this loss turns into them dropping out of it, Zach Taylor, like you probably started cleaning out your desk, just clean out the rest of it at that point. I think it would be hard for them to move on from him if they somehow won the division. Even as poor as it might be, even if it's like a skin of their teeth 9-8 kind of year, but that's good enough to win it. Like it's not a great year when you look at it in totality, but if you win the division, can you really move off of them? I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I would, but this is a Bengals organization though that stuck with Marvin Lewis for a long time, and he wasn't winning anything.
It's one of those things where they got to be smart in the sense that they cannot let any like short term, like monetary gain, really block them off of the real goal. You want to eventually win the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
You had your one shot with Zach Taylor, and that was obviously in 2022 when they lost to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
That's not coming back. Zach Taylor is clearly not a good enough coach to make it back there. So I think even if they win the division, I still think it's over.
Yeah. I feel like it should be. Like I said, it's the Bengals. You never know. I almost wanted Aaron Glenn to dance on the sideline for this one because he did it a couple of weeks ago and then he ended up losing the game, and I felt bad for him. But he did, they had their celebration in the locker room. So good for Aaron Glenn. I guess good for the Jets. I don't know how many more wins they'll get out of this. But if you were Jets ownership, they get this win, would that lessen the heat on Aaron Glenn for you for being a one and done coach?
I mean, I think it kind of would, right? We're talking. I mean, it seemed like Woody Johnson was already giving him a lot of slack for what's gone wrong this season in that previous interview, which I guess is a good sign for Aaron Glenn. Especially if he can rip off a couple more wins like this, maybe even one or two, and just show that there's a plan going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think absolutely he could.
Okay. Now, does Woody have to come up with another statement about Justin Fields? They were able to get a win, even though he tried to make it seem like you can't win with the quarterback performing like he does. I feel like he's not going to, but that dynamic between those two is kind of fascinating because Justin Fields goes out there and performs well, knowing full well that the owner doesn't think you're good enough. So, I don't know. We'll see where the Jets season goes from here, but there had to be a lot of pressure on those guys to finally get a win. Now they can take a deep breath and, see if one can turn into a second win. At what point, I don't know. But I mean, Joe Flacco, I feel like he did enough. I feel like the offense did enough. It's just
you will never catch. Look, if you're in the NFL and your offense scores like over 20, most games like 24 points or so. At that point, you've done enough to win like 90% of NFL games.
yeah,
But when you score 38, yeah, at that point, it just stops being the offense fault. Spare me with the old, oh, well, they didn't get it done on their last drive of the game because they only got it done on every other drive of the game. So, yeah, I definitely think that it's not, you can't blame the offense on this one.
yeah. With where the Jets were offensively as one of the worst offenses in the league, you go into the fourth quarter up 31-16. That should be enough to win. But look, this is why you got to play 60 minutes. So good for the Jets, Bengals. You got some work to do. I know you enjoyed this one. Sunday night, we had this was the matchup of the week. You had Aaron Rodgers, former team, and then the built-in historic aspect, I guess, where the Packers obviously were the last team that he's has gotten a win against in the league. So it was a chance for him to have a win against every team. Didn't happen. Packers came out. Jordan Love looked great. And it's not even Toyotathon yet. We're still a couple of weeks away from that. He goes out there with 360 yards, 29 for 37, 3 touchdowns. That offense was humming against the Steelers. Rodgers, on the other hand, 24 for 36, not bad. 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, he had an okay night. He just didn't have a Jordan Love kind of night. So, Brett, I mean, look, this one, like I said, you as a Packers fan, like, what were the thoughts on the game? How do you feel Aaron Rodgers looked in that Steelers uniform? I guess it was back when they were the Pittsburgh Pirates, which, I mean, Pirates today haven't really done much lately, so I know it might have been a bad omen putting on that jersey, but like, what were your thoughts in the game? I will say, I do like that Packers kind of white look with just a little trim of color.
Oh, the whiteout? Yeah, that's a great. I love that jersey. It's fantastic.
Steelers look like Transformers, yeah.
I look, the first half of that game was not fun for me to watch. I genuinely was mad at like the first half of that game more than I was mad at a game maybe all year.
Mm-hmm.
The one pet peeve I have of watching football is, I can accept when my team loses. I can't accept when we lose doing stupid things. And that first half was just us trying to force the run that wasn't there. But it really felt like, obviously, the big completion to Tucker Kraft set things off. But
he had a night too.
Yeah. Once Matt LaFleur remembered that the short passing game is an extension of the run game, and you can also use that to, set up the big plays, that's really when we started rolling, right? That I think's what's flipped. It went from trying to force the run to just a lot more quick passes, taking advantage of an older Steelers secondary. Make them chase you like their top 2 corners, while still skilled at some point. They are 31 and like 32, so you can outrun them. So overall, I love the way that our offense picked it up in the second half, and we did great. Jordan Love showed why he's an elite quarterback. He's been elite all year. I don't know what to tell you. You can nitpick, things here and there, but you can't take away the greatness that he's produced so far this year. So overall, that was great. I was really impressed too with old man Rodgers, and this is one of those games where I actually think he got sold more often than not, because he was driving and then fumble. That ended a possession. And then he took care of the football. He was accurate. But the real backbreaker was, he unfortunately has the biggest diva in the NFL on his team in DK Metcalf. So while DK did have some nice plays, the backbreaker just ended up being Quay Walker just rage baiting him into a 15-yard penalty. So guess what? 3rd and 1 is now 3rd and 16, and then we got home to Aaron. So it felt like the Steelers beat themselves. I know a lot of the conversation people will want to talk about Rodgers. I thought Rodgers did great. I just thought it was just a very sloppy and undisciplined night for Pittsburgh. And if they want to keep a hold of this division, they got to do a whole lot better than that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a division that now, with everything that's gone on, they still have, I guess, the 1-game lead over the Bengals. They're now the lead over the Ravens is now 2 games instead of 3. And then the Browns, well, the Browns are the Browns. I thought they were going to fight at the end. Yeah, a lot of pushing and shoving throughout the night. That's what I guess was going to come from this game, where Rodgers definitely wanted to win this one. You could tell. Like, here's the thing: when you watch an Aaron Rodgers-led team on national TV, his face will tell you kind of the mood of the team, because he had his moments where he was, celebrating, he was loving it, and then late in the game, you just got that Aaron Rodgers when he'll throw a pass that's like incomplete or something. He takes the chin strap, buckles it to the other side, and just shakes his head walking off. You saw that a lot at the end of the game. And then he'll go on the sideline, he'll sit on the bench, and he'll just shake his head some more. So, like I said, you knew that this is the one, like, going into the season, he wanted this one against the Packers for sure. And, yeah, his teammates didn't necessarily do the best for him, and that defense could not look. Tucker Kraft, every time you look, that man was wide open. And even when there was a defender around him, he was usually stiff-arming that one and, out in the open field. So it was what, National Tight Ends Day or whatever they call it, for, I guess, that George Kittle got started with. So it was fitting for Tucker Kraft to have a night.
This is one of those things that when the offense, I thought, actually, like, when you dropped 25, I thought that was good. But when your defense allows 20 completions in a row and just can't stop anything, like, they were stopping the run, but literally as soon as they Packers drop back the pass, that's just it, because they could not stop the pass at all. When you allow 20 completions in a row, yeah, you're not going to win very many football games just being that much of a Swiss cheese in coverage.
Yeah. And during those 20 attempts, it's not like they were like, dink and dunk passes from Jordan Love. Like, he was throwing dots out there, and I was watching it, and I actually did this, and look, I might be telling on myself. I actually Googled Toyota Thought, because I was like, something's got to be going on. Jordan Love is feeling it right now. And I was like, it's like 2 weeks away. I was like, he's just setting us up. He's getting warmed up, getting ready.
Say MVP love season. If he steps it up like he always does in the second half of the year, we're in for a treat.
I mean, what, they are the number 1 seed in the NFC. That's obviously going to play in his favor if they do keep that up. I think it could be an interesting MVP race this year. I mean, it is kind of early to start thinking about it, but you look at some of the performances over the first half, like, it's going to be interesting. I didn't realize once I picked this picture, like, this was when the one, like, the ref got trampled over when they were pushing and shoving. So kind of did him dirty, but it was fitting for the night, because it was like every stoppage was like, you heard the announcers like, oh, we got some pushing and shoving off to the side there. It was like, yeah, that's kind of what it was all night. All right. Oh, getting the picks. So this was last week, because we were waiting for the Monday night games to finish out the week. You ended up going 3-3. So those Monday night games saved your week, because it was rough when we looked at it last week. Like we said, we talked about Steelers, Bengals last week and all that. So you are 12-16-1. I had a perfect week. Don't get used to that. I'm allowed one a year probably. So 17-11-1. And then these are our current picks. We're still waiting on the Monday night game as well. So we're both hoping for a Chiefs win to get 3-2 week. What's going on, Pavel? Let's go Jays. Yeah. Game 1. Okay. Game 2 was a little rough, but it's the World Series. You don't want to see a sweep. I'm definitely rooting for the Jays. They're in my division. But Let's see. All right, so Thursday night we both had Vikings plus 3.5. We clearly missed the boat on that one. The Chargers were much better on that night. We did learn Carson Wentz out for the year with a shoulder injury that does need surgery on it. So I guess we'll get JJ McCarthy back this week. If not, I guess they got to go to Brosmer. Was it the rookie from University of Minnesota, I think? Like I said, we both had Packers minus 3.5 against the Steelers. Played out perfectly. Lock of the week, you had the Patriots minus 7. Wentz makes me wince. Yes. I mean, he was wincing that whole night too. I had the Bucks minus 5.5. We both missed on our underdog because you had the Bears plus 6.5. We just talked about that game earlier. I had the Cowboys plus 3 against the Broncos, and the Cowboys let that Broncos offense just run up and down the field on them. So let's see. Well, actually, we can talk about your pick of the Patriots minus 7, which would have been my pick if you didn't take it, but saw that game. Obviously, as a Patriots fan, was well invested. So I think the first question you obviously have to ask, is it time to go to Shador for the Browns?
If he's ready. It's not just the answer. Like, everybody wants some decisive yes or no, but the reality is the answer is if Shador is ready. Like, it's not, is he better than Dylan Gabriel right now? Is like the reality is the question is if he's ready to go, then yes, they should give him a shot at this point. Say Gabriel impressed in this first start, I thought, but he's kind of fallen off since then. So if he's ready to go, yeah, give him a shot. If he's not ready to go, throw Gabriel out there another week. So I know he was on the injury report, so
yeah,
I wouldn't rush him back from an injury or anything to, get him a start. But yeah, he should get his chance when the time presents itself if he's ready.
Yeah, because I was about to ask, like, is Gabriel a starting level quarterback? But you just talk about him falling off after the first week. So I'm assuming you're going to say, looking at him right now, he probably shouldn't be a starter in this league. But it is the Browns situation. It's either him, Zappy, or Shador kind of at this point.
He strikes me as like I think he can be in the league a long time, but he strikes me as more like he's a backup. He's a spot starter. He's somebody that's a really good locker room presence.
Yeah.
He's not somebody that, I'm holding, moving heaven and earth to make sure he's my franchise quarterback. But I think he can be in the league a long time. I just don't think you want him to be your franchise quarterback.
Yeah. But I agree with that. I kind of wish Control was in the chat because I know he's been talking about this for weeks. Travion Henderson finally got an opportunity. Even though he actually didn't play a lot of snaps, he played like 14, but he got, I believe, 10 carries or so, 77, 78 yards, showed some explosiveness. Even though I've seen the whole Patriots season, and a lot of times Henderson was like running into the back of linemen who were pulling or whatever and was kind of hurting himself. Against the Browns, he was able to get into open space and found lanes and all that. So I feel like his production and his cooperation will start going up from here, which I'm fine with. Then on the other side, the other Ohio State quarterback, Quinshon Judkins, struggled against the Patriots defense. I guess one last follow-up question before go to another game. Drake May. You know Drake May is my guy. Is he a top 10 quarterback, top 5 quarterback? Where would you put him?
Ooh, let's see. I think he's absolutely been a top 10 quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's in that conversation where he's top 10 for sure, and he makes the discussions like faintly for a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he's there yet, but he's definitely on his way. If you want to argue he's a top 5 quarterback this year, I'll listen to it.
Well, yeah, I probably should say
So
that. I meant like
no,
obviously
I know
at
what
this
you
point.
meant.
Yeah, yeah,
That's kind of where I'm at with him. If you want to
yeah.
say the top 5 quarterback, I'll listen to it gladly because the argument's there. So I think he's in the conversation, which is great for the Patriots.
Are they the favorite to win the AFC East?
It's probably still Buffalo, but
I mean, I picked Buffalo before the year. So.
I would still say it's Buffalo. They're just more battle tested. At the end of the day, they do have Josh Allen, which helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Patriots will be right in the mix. So it'll be a fun stretch here.
I mean, look, it'll probably come down to that rematch between the two teams later in the year, up in Foxborough. Yeah, Cowboys Broncos. I don't know what to make of either team because I only went with the Cowboys +3 because I've seen like the Broncos offense struggle except for that fourth quarter against the Giants. So I was wondering if which offense was going to show up, and if they struggled, I feel like that'd be enough for that Cowboys team. Who they're not a player away on defense from being good or something. 'Cause I guess people are asking him if he's going to be active at the trade deadline for probably like a pass rusher or something. So I guess that was his way of saying probably not, because there's been a lot of rumors. Max Crosby, which I don't see, but whatever. So, like I said, I don't know how to really pinpoint who the Cowboys are because offensively they look really good. Defensively, they're not. And maybe the fact that they're 3-4-1, they're probably going to be like a 500 team anyway. And then if the Broncos play like they did against the Cowboys, are they not one of the top teams in the AFC?
I can tell you who the Cowboys are. They're a weird team, but they're like a very average team, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny because their offense is elite. I love their offense. I think Dak Prescott has been playing, and people might call me crazy for this, but the way he's been playing, at times he's been playing at an MVP level.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's been an absurd talent this year. Their defense, though, like it's the most mind-boggling, like conservative defense you'll ever see. Like you're in a situation where you only want to rush 4, Matt Eberflus will rush 5. You need extra pressure and rush for like 6, Matt Eberflus will rush 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just way too conservative of a defense. So it's like perfectly average. It's a situation once again where this team should be better than it is because their offense looks great,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality is the defense can't stop a nosebleed. Look, I know the Broncos were, talked about as, being this team that's going to win the division, talked very highly about. That
Mm-hmm.
is not an offense that should be dropping 40 bombs on you. But the
Right.
Broncos did it, so like I said, they're painfully mediocre, but it feels like they should be better. But they won't be better until they fix that defense. And I think it all starts with maximizing the talent and getting a creative scheme. You got to get Eberflus out of there, honestly. Get some new blood in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the biggest shock that the Broncos dropped 44. Because I agree with you. I was not expecting that. Like I thought their offense would look okay against the Cowboys defense, but not 44 points worth.
I know, like Dak threw a couple picks, but I wasn't even mad at that because after a certain point, you just feel like you have to force the issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Dak got. Like it looked like after a certain point, you're just trying to make things happen. And if you throw a pick trying to make things happen, I'm never going to blame you for that. So the Cowboys just really got to find a way to fix their defense, and if they're not going to have elite, like an elite pass rusher or anything, then they got to get a more creative coordinator.
Right. And then I guess the last team, the Bucks. Like I said, I had the Bucks -5.5. They got the win. They're another team that, they're I guess one of the few NFC teams where injuries are part of the story, but it's like Baker's ability is kind of enough to overcome it or whatever. I guess looking at the Bucks, And we know Evans is out for the year. Godwin, I guess, is coming back at some point. Irving as well. When they get those two guys back, how good can the Bucks be this year? I'm about to say, are they a Super Bowl contender? Is maybe the NFC title game their ceiling? Are they maybe a fun playoff team that could be one and done or whatever? Like, how good do you think they are once they get those two back?
You know what's funny? I think they could be a sneaky team. I don't know if you call them sneaky, but I think they could make a run to the Super Bowl. Look, it's one of those things where a lot of the times these Super Bowl runs really come down to luck, but also getting hot at the right time and healthy at the right time. And I think the Buccaneers could absolutely have that happening for them. This is a team that very well could get healthy at the right time. And then obviously we know that they get healthy at the right time. And with this offense, they could very well start heating up real quick. If you add Godwin, Evans, and Buka, like, yeah, this team could be very well. It wouldn't surprise me if they ended up in the Super Bowl just on the back of how good they are fully healthy, which we haven't seen quite yet from them.
Right. All right. Try to see if there's anything else. Oh, okay. So this was a question I saw on ESPN on First Take, which sometimes they come with some good ones and sometimes it's off the wall stuff. But only because we did talk about the Packers earlier, and because they are the number one seed, the question came up: bigger threat to the Packers. They were just kind of playing it out that if the Packers went in as the number one seed, they'd obviously be probably the favorite to come out of the NFC. But they said, I think it was the Eagles. Was the Eagles or Bucks as the bigger threat, or I guess somebody else?
Eagles, Bucks, or somebody else. I'm going to stick with the Eagles. At the end of the day, when we're talking about the Eagles, this is a team that's done it before. They're experienced, and if they get healthy, they can also get out at the right time. So I think the Buccaneers can be a team to watch. I also think the Eagles, at the end of the day, are still the team to beat. You know, the old saying, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So I'm still going to pick the Eagles to be the team to beat in the NFC.
Okay. All right, so those were last week's picks, which, like I said, both of us are rooting for Chiefs minus 10.5 against the Commanders team with no Daniels, so should be in the bag. Let's get to week 9. Starting off, teams on a bye. Did this last week because there were 6 teams on a bye. Got 4 this week. So if you do fantasy football, check your lineups. The Browns, I don't know how many players you have from the Browns, but the Browns, the Eagles are on a bye, the Bucks, and the Jets. Look at that. The Jets finally get a win. They got to go on a bye now.
Can't even keep the hot streak going.
Exactly. So Thursday night, we'll start there. Okay, so if you're new to the show, we pick the primetime games, then we each give our favorite that we like and an underdog that we like to cover. So Thursday night, we have the Ravens coming off of the win against the Bears. We talked about it earlier. A lot of people looking for them to now go on a run. But they're facing a Dolphins team that, look, Tua had an eye issue. He talked about you can't see over the line. And then they go to Atlanta and put up a 30 spot on the Falcons. The Ravens are a 7.5-point favorite on the road in Miami. How do you see it playing out?
So if you asked me like before last Sunday, I would have just picked the Ravens to cover, but the Dolphins just look very impressive against the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'll take the Dolphins.
Okay.
I'll take the Dolphins to at least cover. This is a game with a desperate Ravens team, but obviously this Dolphins team, I think they have enough fight left in them to at least keep it within a touchdown. I still think the Ravens win, but I'll pick the Dolphins to cover.
Look, for Thursday night football, the matchup's intriguing. Only because I don't want to trust the Dolphins. but it's kind of the way this season's going. Falcons look great against the Bills. Turnaround looked like absolute garbage against the Dolphins in Atlanta. Ravens have had all their issues. They go against a Bears team that was coming in with some momentum, and they get a win. And now they face off on a short week where we don't know, I guess, if Lamar's going to play. Because I do find it weird if he's running scout team going into going into the game yesterday. That now in a short week, is he going to take first team reps? I don't know. But Dolphins plus 7.5 does seem intriguing. Because you still have that secondary in Baltimore. And Tua was able to find Jalen Waddle against the Falcons, even though, like I said, he said a lot of times he can't see him, so he's not going to throw blindly. He found Waddle. I might agree with you, but I really don't know.
It's one of those things that no matter which way you go with it, I don't think I like it, but
right. You know what? I'll take the Ravens minus 7.5. I was kind of surprised the line was 7.5, to be honest with you, but I'll take them. I'll probably regret it, but whatever. Sunday Night Football. This is the matchup that would look a lot better if Jaden Daniels was active for the Commanders. But I feel like he's going to miss this game as well, I believe. But we have the Seahawks minus 3.5. Seahawks are having a really good season. Commanders, like we said, have some injuries that they're dealing with, although I think McLaurin is back tonight, I believe. So how do we see this one going? Are you going to take the Seahawks to cover, or do you think the Commanders could make the game a little bit more interesting?
I think the Commanders can make the game interesting. That being said, I still think that this is a game where the Seahawks cover. I just think flat out Seattle's the better football team. So I think even with Scary Terry, I think they can keep it within a touchdown. But I think that's about how much the Seahawks win by. I don't trust that defense to get stops on the Darnold and Jigba connection. So overall, give me the Seahawks in that one.
Right. Yeah. And look, the Seahawks have a really good defense. They have a really good defensive front. So even if it's Daniels, Mariota, whoever, like they're probably going to be able to get some pressure on them. So I agree. I'll take the Seahawks minus 3.5 as well. I just think that they're just the better team in general. And actually, looking at the two lines, I might be more surprised that the Seahawks are only 3.5 over the Commanders, while the Ravens are 7.5 over the Dolphins. But that's that. I don't work in Vegas. I don't know how they do that. Monday Night Football. We only get one Monday Night Football next week. One Monday Night Football game. Cardinals. Okay. At Cowboys. This is a matchup, looking back, obviously, as the season's gone along. I'm trying to figure out, how is it a Monday Night Football game anyway? I guess Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott was enough. I don't know. But you have Chiefs Bills. How is that not one of the primetime games? That's where I was just like, I don't get it. But we got Cardinals Cowboys.
Kyler Dak? Who needs Mahomes and Allen when you got Kyler and Dak?
I guess. Like even Vikings Lions, if you were before the season, you'd probably go, yeah, that could be a primetime game. But either way, Cardinals Cowboys. Is this an easy one? Cowboys cover the 3, or you think the Cardinals cover?
I'll take the Cardinals. The Cardinals can still move the football, which this is a really porous Cowboys defense. So I'll take the Cardinals to cover the spread on this one.
Okay. Cards plus 3. Let's see. I took the Cowboys last week. They burned me. Monday Night Football, though, down in Jerry World. I think I'm going to do it again. I think I'm going to fall for it. I think I'll take the Cowboys minus 3. I think at a worst case, maybe it's a shootout, but maybe it's a game that the Cowboys win by like 7, 8 or something. Maybe the Cardinals are driving to tie it. And they somehow come up short. So I'll take the Cowboys minus 3. I don't know if I'm confident in it, but I guess I don't know. I guess I trust the Cowboys a little more right now. All right, so now looking at the rest of the schedule. Let's see, Falcons, Patriots. Patriots 5.5-point favorite, which obviously hits home for me as a Patriots fan. But now living in Atlanta, Falcons are the team that's, I guess, in my backyard now. So at least it'll be on TV down here, one way or the other. That's also good. But I got the Bears, 2.5-point favorite at the Bengals. Bengals coming off that tough loss to the Jets. Bears coming off the tough loss to the Ravens. That's an interesting matchup there. Vikings, Lions. We'll have to see who's quarterback for the Vikings. I'm assuming it's McCarthy, but McCarthy is trying to come back from an injury. Lions are an 8.5-point favorite at home. One of those double-digit lines that sometimes get scared from. Panthers coming off of a blowout against the Bills. Facing your Packers. The Packers are a 12.5-point favorite. Broncos are a 1.5 favorite going to Houston to face the Texans team that coming off of a win over the Niners. The Niners, 2.5-point favorite over the Giants, going up to New York. Speedy recovery to Cam Scatterbo. Saw the injury. Not a good one. Like, it's, dislocated ankle. You saw it on TV. It was gruesome. But Niners are a 2.5-point favorite on the road there. Colts, the 7-1 Colts. I can't believe I'm saying that 8 weeks in. Well, I guess 9th week now. Colts are a 3-point favorite over the Steelers on the road. The Chargers are a 10-point favorite on the road to Tennessee to face the Titans. The Jags are a 3-point favorite over the Raiders out in Vegas. The Saints heading out to LA to face the Rams. The Rams, largest line of the week, 13.5-point favorite over the Saints. And then, as I said, the game that probably should be Monday night, Chiefs are a 1.5 favorite over the Bills going up to Orchard Park. So which game are you taking for your favorite pick?
Bryce coming out this week?
Is
Bryce coming out this next week, do you think?
I feel like the indications are that Bryce is out again. Let me double check that.
You know what? It's great. For my lock of the week, give me the Packers plus 12.5.
Okay.
I normally shy away from big numbers. However, well, to put it simply, Andy Dalton looked awful, like beyond awful. Like, he's making mistakes a rookie would make. It would be fine if he wasn't 37 years old. So I'll take the Packers to beat either Andy Dalton or Bryce Young coming up a high ankle sprain by more than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, saying Bryce Young day to day, there's some optimism he'll practice by Wednesday.
Like, the Panthers had momentum until Andy Dalton took that sack and then forced them to do like one of those fire field goals that got missed. That seemed to flip the game. But the fact he had the time to throw that ball away, and he literally had time to pump fake, and then he just takes a sack instead of throwing that thing out of the back of the end zone. So overall, it just has to be, to me, Packers get this done by 2 touchdowns at least.
Okay. Guess the favorite for me. Do I want to do it?
My other team was going to be your Patriots, ironically.
It is the Falcons going on the road. Can't trust them.
With Kirk Cousins at quarterback.
Kirk Cousins, yeah. I think I got to do it. Patriots are on a run right now. I think that environment, yeah. I'll take the minus 5.5. I mean, it's the better team. Even if Penix was starting, I just think the run that the Patriots are on now with that defense that can get pressure on quarterbacks, their ability to stop the run, which will obviously be tested with Bijan Robinson, but the Dolphins just came off a game where they held Bijan in check. Yeah, give me the Patriots. All right, who's your underdog you think covers this week?
You know what?
Okay.
I'm looking at a game that I don't think anybody would even think about picking.
Okay.
Give me the Titans against the Chargers, covering the spread.
Plus 10, okay.
The Chargers are the single most hilarious team to watch at times. because they will make games out of games that shouldn't be games. And I just have a gut feeling that that's exactly what's going to happen. Like the Chargers are going to make that game a dogfight with the Titans for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Okay. Hey, especially with our underdog picks, we can go bold sometimes. That look at that one hits. Okay. Plus 10. I mean, Cam Ward, then you have the defense. I can see that happen because I agree with you. The Chargers are a weird team where there's weeks where you think they have an opponent that they should dominate and they don't. So, yeah, I can see that happening. Where do I want to go now? Let's go with Broncos Texans. Interesting. Both of those defenses, but the line is only 1.5. So I'd have to basically say the Texans are going to beat the Broncos. No, I might do it. I might take the Texans plus 1.5.
No.
But then the Texans' old line against that Broncos.
That's the part that's giving me like hesitation. Like I don't know who's blocking Nick Benito on that line.
Mm-hmm. I don't really trust the Giants without Scatterbo. I can't trust the Bills.
I mean,
all right, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna take the Bengals plus 2.5 over the Bears. The Bears offense frustrates me enough that I worry if they will take advantage of the Bengals defense, even as much as the Jets did. So I'll do that one.
I hope that happens because if they lose to the Bengals and they can't figure out the Bengals defense, oh my gosh! First thing I'm going to do next week when we get on the show is I'm going to tag Damien and ask him what happened.
Right. Well, look, because Damien's in the Passionate Precision Discord, he was losing his mind over that game against the Ravens. So I'm sure he'd probably join you in that next week if it does happen. But all right, so those are our picks. Just to recap, Thursday night you have Dolphins plus 7.5. I've got the Ravens minus 7.5. We're both taking the Seahawks Sunday night minus 3.5 over the Commanders. You have the Cards plus 3 Monday night. I have the Cowboys minus 3. Then your favorite, you got your Packers minus 12.5. I have my Patriots minus 5.5. And then maybe 2 bold picks for underdog. You have the Titans plus 10. I've got the Bengals plus 2.5. All right, well, we'll see. We'll see next week how our picks look. But before we get out of here, talk a little NBA. First, I got to start here. And as a Celtics fan, painful. We're going to highlight a Laker player. Austin Reaves. No LeBron, no Luka. All he does is he gets 51 points. Now, the line here doesn't show it. He had, I believe, 11 rebounds and 9 assists. The 9 assists might be the most surprising of the 3 numbers, but 12 for 22 from the field. And this is one of the things that has fascinated me with Austin Reaves. He gets a lot of free throw attempts. I mean, 21 for 22, you would think these are SGA numbers, but no. Austin Reaves put this out there. Is Austin Reaves starts, so I guess he can't be a 6th man of the year guy, but is Austin Reaves a star in this league? Is he a really good role player? I know you guys, you and Mo on and one were kind of ranking forwards and guards like that. Austin Reaves, what is he? Is he just a really good role player? Maybe a minor star?
So I think the category for someone like Austin Reaves, he either fits in one of two, right? I think you can either call him a high-end role player.
Okay.
But I think more people would probably put him in fringe all-star conversations. Now, when I say fringe all-star, that doesn't mean you're actually like an all-star or even going to be talked about for an all-star game. All I care about is, does your production match that of somebody
Who's an
who's
all-star?
on the borderline conversation of, an all-star team? And I think Austin Reeves so far has, rang that bell. So I think right now, I think he's like in that fringe all-star category. Like, he's that guy that you're like, look out, he's going to break out to be the next star. Just an absolutely terrific game from Austin Reeves. Luka's down, LeBron's down, no problem. You know what? Maybe it's time to look to the future. Trade both Luka and LeBron, build around Austin Reeves. Kidding, but that's some great hoops by him.
Well, they might agree with the trade LeBron part, but obviously Luka is the future there. Like I said, as a Celtics fan, it hurt me to have that conversation, but I gotta point out, it was a great performance by him. There was actually a few performances yesterday between you had Reeves. I know Jaylen Brown had 41. Cam Thomas had 40. I almost put that up here because if you look at Cam Thomas's line, he had like 40 points,
40 points,
no assists, no steals, like 2 rebounds. That was his contribution. But that's Cam Thomas for you. When he's out there on the court, he's a running gun guy. He's looking to get up as many shots as he can. So I just wanted to use that to start off the NBA conversation with, what are some of your NBA thoughts from the first week of the season so far? Maybe you want to give like your biggest surprise, maybe in a good way, maybe biggest surprise bad, like something that maybe a team or player underperforming compared to where you thought they would be. It's only weekend, so it is a little early to overreact to some things, but yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think you know what? You know what's funny? I think a thought that I have, and it might be an unpopular thought. Everybody wants to talk about Wemby on the Spurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, the other kid who's looked good, Dylan Harper, he's looked so good.
Mm-hmm.
And they got obviously a lot of time with all the rookies that are still on their rookie deals, but if you're San Antonio, you might obviously you're going to end up having to trade one of those guards away most likely because you can't pay 4 guards.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks it's De'Aaron Fox, but look, I think De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper fit a Wemby style offense a little better than Stephon Castle. So I wouldn't be shocked if what if the Spurs look to move Castle at some point? I love Castle, and I think they should look to hold on to him. But also, De'Aaron Fox is only 27. Dylan Harper's still very young. I'm telling you, everybody's thinking that it's going to be Fox is the one moved.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say I wouldn't be shocked if the Spurs, maybe while his value is really mega high, look what they did, for example, with Derek White. While his value is super high, move him out before you have to pay him. Yeah. Get extra picks back, and then continue to build around your young core that you have now. So I think that's just some food for thought. Like, what if we're looking at the wrong guard this entire time that San Antonio is looking to move?
Okay. That's interesting. I guess something I never really thought about. I do think, like you said, the obvious answer is like, oh, De'Aaron Fox is the older one, get rid of him. But I agree with you. I think De'Aaron Fox matches what it seems like the Spurs want to do. And the fact that he is only 27, he's not an old player. So you still can get a lot of good years out of De'Aaron Fox. I've always been a De'Aaron Fox guy. So yeah, look, they do have to move off of somebody. And if Castle is available, you should be able to get a good return for a young guard like Castle. So and we know the Spurs aren't afraid of making a deal like that.
Say it's not going to be for another, let's say, at least till probably, I wouldn't even say next offseason, maybe like the trade deadline of next season. But yeah, I don't know. Like, if it's going to be Castle, he's got to improve his shooting. He's just a very rough offensive player. very good defensive player. He gives a lot of effort, but yeah, just a very rough offensive player.
Okay. Hey, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Well, I think for me, I guess the good, I'll say that um, I see the Bulls. Will's Bulls are leading the East right now. They're only 2-0. But we talked about before, uh, was it Zealous? I believe
Montas
this is yeah.
Zealous.
He's a fun guy to watch. And obviously I'm not expecting the Bulls to be the number one seed in the East. Like that's I'm not crazy. But if you catch them on TV, at least you get to watch Buzelis, who, you know, is a budding star. I feel like the kind of overwhelming thing is last season, a lot of the narratives were, what's the league gonna do when KD, LeBron, and Steph leave? I just feel like if you pay attention, there's a lot of young talent in the league right now that they should be fine going forward. Like it's not that big of a deal. And you look around to a lot of these teams. I mean, you mentioned Harper, you mentioned Castle, you got Buzelis, you got guys like Jalen Johnson, like a lot of young talent that, oh, Edgecombe with the Sixers. Once again, Celtics fan, tough for me to say. He's looked great. They still have Maxey. Like, there's a lot of young stars that are out there that maybe it takes moving on from LeBron, KD, and them to actually, put a spotlight on some of these guys that aren't really being talked about a lot right now.
See, so. shout out Trey Jones on the Bulls too. He's been balling.
Yeah. A lot of young guys out there.
Nah, you don't. Nah, you thought you could get away from it. We got to talk about it, man. One more negative thought. Who told Jaylen Brown to get the Carlos Boozer? Like, come on.
I was going to say that. Well, okay. Here's the hilarious thing about that. I keep seeing the clip of like him in the 3-point, like the stance or whatever, like, with the ball in his hands, trying to set up his move. OG gets too close. The head rubs across the jersey and leaves the black mark. And to be honest with you, I laugh at it every time I see it. And I don't know, because as far as I knew, Jaylen Brown had good hair. I've never known him to be like, thinning hair or balding. I have been in the barbershop where I've seen them bust out that spray and spraying on people, and I'm just like, okay. So I don't know what's going on, but it was funny. I guess on the court wise, they're winless, which they're 0-3. I don't care. I do like that they are committed, because the whole offseason was play faster, play faster. They're actually committed to that. I was kind of skeptical that they were actually do it. Once again, it's only 3 games in. We'll see like January and February if they're still doing it or not. Oddly enough, this team kind of seems like a Joe Mazzulla type of team where nobody has big expectations for them. But I think once they kind of figure out rotations and, I think Mazzulla's trying to figure out which guys he can play with certain lineups and everything, because he's trying to integrate a lot of guys, because Celtics went through a lot of changes. Like, he's trying to figure out who Minot is, even though I like his defensive presence. He's trying to figure out how many minutes he should give to Hugo Gonzalez, who's another guy who's really good defensively. Pritchard's role is different than last year. I think Pritchard's still kind of adjusting to it. Anthony Simons, I will say, has looked better than I thought. He offensively, he can score. He can fill it up. I know that. But his ability to create his own shot, I think, is something that I don't know. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be like gone at the end of the year when they can walk away from him, because the contract would be up. I don't know if he's a guy that they might not try to sign for another couple of years. I don't know. But I can at least look at him and say offensively he's good, and defensively he's trying. He moves his feet. He can stay in front of guys. That's good enough for me. And Jaylen Brown, coming off of 41 against Detroit, was a really good performance. I just think when you look at the start of their season, they started against the Sixers, and Maxey and Edgecombe had great nights. Embiid not so much, but Embiid did bounce back his second game with like 20. The Knicks, who a lot of people have as a team that's going to be contending to win the East, and then a Pistons team that you and I are both high on this year. So them being 0-3 doesn't surprise me at all. Like, I'm watching people talk like, man, they really miss Jason Tatum. I'm like, you needed 3 games to know that? They were going to miss Jason Tatum anyway.
Isn't that going to be the one benefit of, like, for example, the Celtics do just genuinely end up being terrible this year? I feel like that's the one benefit, because I feel like it sometimes takes a season like this for you to truly appreciate someone.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like that if the Celtics, do just go down and tank, and they go like, 20-40, 20-62 or whatever, that would be so great for Jason Tatum PR, because then it could be like, see, they do need me.
Yeah. Which, I mean, obviously, I talk about Jason Tatum a lot, but I saw like a TikTok video and somebody was like, the past like 7, I guess, MVPs have been international players. Who's going to be the next like American-born player to win an MVP? And I was like, I don't know.
Well,
maybe it's Jason Tatum. I don't know. But I agree with you. I feel like for whatever reason, people didn't want to give Tatum his credit, but now with the way that the Celtics have started, they're like, yeah, Tatum's kind of that guy. It's like, well, obviously, but you guys didn't want to see it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay, but like, I don't know if they're going to be, 20-62, but let's say Tatum doesn't play a minute this year. Maybe they're like a 35-38 kind of win team. I don't know.
I wouldn't let Tatum play a minute.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing was if they were kind of in it and he's ready to come back, he probably comes back because he's just that kind of like competitive guy. But if they're out of it, yeah, there's no point really doing it.
Yeah, no, except if you're Brad Stevens, even if he wants to come back, you're just like, nah.
Right.
That ain't going to happen.
I think Brad Stevens would love for him to sit out the year. All right, well, I guess we'll end on this. Off topic. He knows you're going to love this. What's up, John? Favre, Rodgers were all 27 when they won the Super Bowl, and Love turns 27 this year, which the broadcast highlighted a couple of times. They had the whole graphic and everything ready. To be honest with you, I didn't know that. And when they said it, I was like, that's kind of too weird not to pay attention to. And they're the number 1 seed in the NFC right now. The stars could be aligning, Brett. Might be planning a parade up in Green Bay.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it does seem like the stars are aligning. We made that big trade for a defensive piece, like what happens before every Packers Super Bowl run, too. Obviously, before Favre won his, we traded for Reggie White. Before Rodgers won his, we traded for Charles Woodson. We just traded for Micah Parsons. So, but I think the biggest thing is, this team is a legit Super Bowl contender, and the biggest thing is the massive improvement of, Jordan Love, but not just him. Guys like Tucker Kraft and Romeo Dobbs have made massive strides as well. So, yeah, I do love that graphic, and he could continue the tradition this year of winning a Super Bowl at 27. So, I'm definitely looking forward to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, with my team doing as well as they are, it's kind of funny to actually be thinking about playoff football in New England. But I mean, we're only halfway through the season. We'll obviously be keeping up with it throughout the rest of the year, and we do have one more game left in the week. I believe if the Chiefs win tonight, do they not jump up into a playoff spot? Yeah. Yeah, they would technically be a half game better than the Jags. So the Chiefs could be a playoff team after tonight. Even though I think at this point, most of us expect them to end up in the playoffs at the end of the year. Because they would be kicking out the Jags, who, after their hot start, probably don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. But neither here nor there. So yeah, we'll obviously keep up with the NFL. We'll keep up with the NBA. Can the Celtics win a game before we're back on here next week? I'm hoping they can, just to get off the schneid. But Brett, I guess anything want to let them know about coming up later tonight?
Of course, yeah. Look, you have to check out the Meaty Boys podcast today. It's going to be a fun time. That'll be at 7:15 Central or 8:15 Eastern. It's going to be awesome. We're having a couple of very special guests from Brew City Wrestling. Frankie DeFalco, he is the owner of Brew City Wrestling and the promoter. He's wrestled in WWF and WCW, wrestled a lot of very big names, had matches with guys like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels. And then we're also bringing on the Brew City Wrestling Heritage Champion, Rose St. James. He's this young up-and-coming prospect, and it's going to be a great time. I'm super excited and honored to be able to bring both of them on.
All right. Yeah, so make sure you guys tune back in about 45 minutes or so for Meaty Boys. Get caught up on wrestling news. Brett said a big interview, or actually 2 big interviews lined up, so make sure you check that out. I mean, I'm back on the network Thursday, Sideline to Sideline, and then also Friday, Passion and Precision, which got to tune in for both. Sideline to Sideline, we get you ready for Thursday Night Football. Passion and Precision, we're just talking sports on there. A lot of laughs, ranting. It's all a good time. And Jory was in the chat earlier, so one of the co-hosts with Key as well. So yeah, a lot of fun there. But make sure, if you have not done so, first of all, give us a like. Then follow or subscribe, depending on platform you're on, to Wire to Wire Network. Get caught up with all the shows that we have, notified when we do go live. So if 45 minutes from now you forget Meaty Boys is on, you get that notification and you got to tune in. And we get you started every day, Monday through Friday, Coffee and Sports, the morning show that you got to check out to get you caught up on the nights before sports news. So with that, for myself and Brett, not guarding the 2, he's guarding the 3. We're out of here. Another episode in the books. We'll catch you next week. So see you next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll do it all again. Unlike Brian Kelly, we'll be back. That might have been too soon, but hey, it is what it is. So enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you next week. Bye.